Okay. What? I don't know what's going on with my stuff. think I only need one. I kind of want some more grilled cheese now. Tomato soup and grilled cheese is fire. Okay. I'm deciding if I'm done or not. That's interesting. Alright. This book's super dope. If I were gonna use a D&D, a map for D&D, this one is pretty dope, actually. It's like Antarctica. You have a lot of really cool locations. Alright. I guess I'll start with the preface, right? A century and a half ago, Senior Richard Owen coined the word dinosaura to name what he believed to be fearfully great lizards. During the time since then, the Earth has coughed up new bones faster than paleontologists can rise them up in marble halls. As we crane our necks upward, young and old, trying to reclothe these bones with muscle and skin in a kind of reverse X-ray vision, we keep asking ourselves, what were they really like? We do. Have we moved into this earthly abode without the benefit of meeting the previous tenants? In this instance, the previous tenants had a lease of 150 million years. They must gotten along well with the landlord. In the book you hold in your hands is an odyssey for the eye. You can check with the nearest 8-year-old. You can check with the nearest 8-year-old. All dinosaurs are real. Based on fossil evidence, whether the rest is real depends on you. It belongs in marble halls, not of museum, but of your imagination. The other side of the mirror, the world that is in the end more true. Okay, so I guess this is what I was reading right here. And then the map, we're going to turn a page. How I discovered the sketchbook. Nearly a year ago, nearly a year has gone since I first made the discovery. It was by purely chance. I was tracking down some information about the spice trade in China when my eye fell upon a curious old leather-bound sketchbook. The university library has hundreds of original manuscripts like it. They have all been cataloged, but few have been studied in detail. At first it seems just At first, it seemed to be just another sketchbook diary of a forgotten explorer. All the names were unfamiliar to me. Dinotopia, by Arthur and William Dennison, being the account of our adventures and discoveries on a lost island. Interesting. I quickly paged through it, for the librarian had rung the closing bell, and I had to go home. The book had been badly worn and water damaged long ago. The very old photograph of a man and a boy slipped from its mount, pressed into the back pages, where some brittle botanical specimens of horsetail ferns and ginkgo leaves. The drawings showed people and dinosaurs living side by side, but this was an impossibility. Dinosaurs had disappeared from Earth 65 million years ago, long before mankind evolved. Was this sketchbook mere fantasy, or had I stumbled upon the only surviving record of a lost civilization? Honestly, I have my own doubts, being skeptical by nature, but I offer you the facts of the case so you can form your own conclusions. You got some pictures, got them in a bookstore looking for it, finding it. You got this guy and his son. This was in the sketchbook. That is Will. That's his son, William, right there. And this is Arthur. It says Journal of Arthur Dennison, November 10th, 1862. Having lost all my ship journals in the disaster of 9 days ago, I will begin with the wreck itself and the curious events that have followed. Alas, our schooner Venture has perished, along with all hands, save my only son Will and myself. We had been 2 years at sea, departing Boston on a voyage of discovery, through which I hope to distract my son from the recent loss of his mother and to assuage somehow my own grief. Okay. I can't. Gotta stretch the legs. Okay, here we go. We were sailing in uncharted waters when a typhoon struck with sudden fury. I ripped loose the topsail and brought a spare down, shrouds and all. With a glancing blow to my shoulder that left me nearly senseless, I do recall Will pulling me loose from the foaming surge, carried us both into the mountainous waves, and I can feel the sensation of being lifted bodily to the surface by a dolphin, no doubt one of the same that had been following our vessel since we left Hong Kong. With the last of our strength, we clung to the fins of the dolphin, who carried us into calmer green seas. Interesting, green. We reached a coastline of breakers, and soon on our own feet could carry us to shore. Blessed shore, where daylight woke us, parched and groggy. Got a picture of them, William saving his dad. Then they got them washed up on shore. A strange sign of life. By morning, my shoulder, though stiff, was usable, and Will proved wholly uninjured. We searched the shoreline for a sign of the ship or our comrades, sadly in vain. But we did find, to our delight, a fresh water stream to answer our raging thirst. Dolphins followed our movement from a few hundred yards seaward, leaping, chattering, from all appearances, trying to get our attention. In any case, I waved back, and Will hollowed as well, with the hopes of reassuring and thanking them for our deliverance. We'll go ahead and show you the picture on said page. They found a track. All at once, Will put a hand on my shoulder and hissed, "Father, listen." From some distance in the jungle came a series of low, sustained hooting, or perhaps I should say bellowings, and then again silent. We waited. All remained quiet. Eventually, urged forward by our need to escape the hot sun, we crept into the forest, two reluctant crusoes? I'm guessing that's like another word for people or something. We set out to make a camp, clearing a stand of small tree ferns and looking for any fruit or berries or game animals that might provide subsistence. An activity Will tracked with enthusiasm. Oh, my bad. There you go. They're going into the forest. The types, or the plants, resembled ancient types, living relics of a bygone age. They got the ginkgo, the cone ferns, magnolia, ferns, the creature was not seriously hurt. I was just preparing a brave speech for my son when a creature appeared, hog-sized, but somewhat resembling an iguana. It circled us, squawking like a parrot, although its beak like mouth, or through its beak like mouth. Reaching a foot towards Will, as though seeking a meal, I seized a heavy rock and waited for it to come within range. Upon hurling the weapon, striking the animal in the leg, it let out a loud, anguished squeal, instantly bellowing again, as if in response. Now much closer. Uh-oh. Oh, my bad. Within seconds, the jungle erupted with a horde of creatures so extraordinary that I had immobilized and incredulous. Will was not so Will. He seized me and started to drag me towards the water. Too late. Moving with terrific speed, despite their size, the creatures surrounded us, displaying an armament of horns and club-like tails. Their stomping and bellowing deafened us. We realized that we were being threatened, and I hesitate even now to set this down by living members of the class of vertebrates known as Dinotopia. I had thrust Will behind me, preparing to do I know not what, when, to my utter amazement, a young girl emerged from behind the largest creature and soothed it with whistles, cooing noises, and gestures, then approached the injured hog parrot and made a bandage from her white headdress. I was dumbfounded and a little embarrassed. I turned to reassure Will, who was gazing awestruck at the girl. Maybe I should do like a a little bit longer so you guys can see this. She spoke with a reproachful tone to us, using a language in which I seemed occasionally to hear a familiar word. So I made a couple efforts. Pata. Oh man. These are Pata de me, Madame Massel, inte Digun. Do you speak English? To no avail. Although she cocked her head as though she understood a word or two, however, her main concern was for the injured animal, which seemed to be making a great fuss about a minor hurt. Meanwhile, I kept a wary eye on the larger creatures, who maintained a constant rumbling and shifting about us. I urged Will to keep very still. It says reassuring the Triceratops. At last, the hogged parrot, which had been watching us intently, squawked out sounds, something like English, ink. There followed a lively exchange of hoots, rumbles, head bobbings, and foot stompings, until all of a sudden the hog parrot was lifted onto the back of another of its kind. The entire managerie, the entire managerie disbanded. Judge, jury, law, and clerk, leaving us alone with the club-tail bailiff and the girl herself, who beckoned us to follow. Both Will and I were tired, not only from our watery ordeal, but also from the shock we just suffered. Nevertheless, Will set out sturdily and even turned to offer me assistance. His 2 years at sea have made him more than usually rugged and self-reliant for a 12-year-old. Together, we trudged in the wake of the young girl for what must have been 2 hours, without any further attempts at conversation. Warily, we walked behind her as the jungle gave way to pasture land. The road was twice the breadth of those in America. In the muddy places, I measured wheel ruts 15 feet apart, accompanied by hoof prints, not of horses or ox, but of 3 or 4 and 5-toed giants. The girl and her escort led us to the heart of the ranch, where we could see, coming and going from high stone doorways, more of the dinosaurs, including several of the family. Don't TD, with whom I was already well acquainted. Wait a minute, what? To my astonishment, those creatures, which so recently had threatened us, were allowed to roam free of fences or harnesses, strutting about like roosters in a farmyard, and according the greatest respect by all of the people. At the ranch, the girl introduced herself with signs as Sylvia, a reassuringly familiar name. Her parents are Gorgo Ginto and Maria Romano. Kind souls, they are workers in what turns out to be a dinosaur hatchery. I must say, somewhat hen-like in their manner. Maria chuckled and patted with Will, while Gigorio, with immense care, arranged a nest-like bed for her comfort. By early afternoon, as far as I could judge with my pocket watch, rendered useless by the salt water, we had eaten, bathed, and retired gratefully to bed. Got the hatchery. Creatures the size of ostriches care for the eggs, keep them warm in transit. Guest beds was made in the form of a nest. A dinosaur chair, or more accurately, resting couch, since the larger quadrupeds don't sit. Interesting. I'm pretty sure the long nuts and stuff like lay down eventually. I have a, look at this. It's a sweet bookmark. I got it from a comic book store. And I am so Gary. I am so Gary. So Gary. Alright. Now, I know how a chick feels. Hatching into the expandant glaze of its companions in the henhouse. Georgie, I don't know how to pronounce Giorgio must have been sitting beside us for much of the 18 hours we slept. Mira, meanwhile, had washed my cloths free of salt clothes. Oh, I'm sorry. Mira, meanwhile, had washed my clothes free of salt and restored them to me. She then offered Will some pantaloons and a shirt of local origin, hand-woven and of good substance. At breakfast, to our keen delight, we were introduced to a gentleman named Alec Orchardwine, who spoke of an archaic form of English. He seemed to search the air above his head for words, then said to Will something that sounded like, "Welcome, wee lad. Welcome, wee lad." We then pointed to the painting of a dolphin as if he knew the means of our rescue. He referred to himself as 15 Mothers English, by which I was to understand that his ancestors had landed here 15 generations ago, or 400 years. Wow. 15 generations? There may have been some error of the English there. Okay, maybe, or maybe not. Maybe they live longer. Breakfast was juice, tea, soup, bread, nuts, no milk, no meat, and no eggs. Well, that sounds like a good breakfast, though. Juice, tea, soup, bread, nuts. Sounds like everything you need. From this gentleman, I learned that we are on an island named Dinotopia. That all humans here are descended from shipwrecked men and women, brought to safety by dolphins, and the most astonishing of all, that Dinotopia's main population consists of all manner of dinosaurs, most of them peaceful, living as equals with the humans. But if these harmless vertebrate exist in such large numbers, what of the great what of the great carnivores? I cannot imagine a world more terrifying than one populated by by Tyrannosaurus Rex. Will appeared to be undismayed by our strange circumstances. The recuperative powers of the young never ceased to amaze me, and was eager to explore the hatchery with Sylvia. We got the hatchery provides every comfort for expecting parents. Nesting room with egg basins made of hardened clay. A supply of ferns for patting. Pipe organ can be performed by feet. Oh, man. I'm sorry. Can be performed by large feet. Resting chamber, for conversation or relaxation. Incubation room kept at 101 Fahrenheit. Warmer temperatures will change developing embryos into males. Coolers will result in more females. Basin of water over the fire keeps the air humid, protecting the membrane inside the shell. The sign at the entrance of the incubation room. Human sleeping chamber, a space for up to 12 full-time hatchery workers. Living and dining areas for the humans. Guest quarters, usually occupied by humans traveling with expectant dinosaur females. Stairway to the windmill for servicing gears and power assembly. Signal tower, which fastens with faceted quartz stone. In Dinotopia, most dinosaurs lay only 2 or 3 fertile eggs in their lifetime, a trait evolved in response to the scarcity of predators. In this way, the population is stabilized. Laying an egg, then, is a major event in a dinosaur's life. We got the Natrix nurse or egg nurse, known elsewhere as oviraptor or egg stealer. Waiting for the egg to be laid. They got a picture for it. They got a picture for the embryo. Shows like everything inside the egg. Inside a dinosaur's egg Halfway through incubation. You got the house if you want to see up close. And then you got the sign in the house. You got the egg stealer or egg nurse. The children kept a close watch over the eggs. Before hatching, the eggs squeak. Puppets help babies imprint to the correct parent models. Young Marasauruses enjoy being lifted up to meet a visiting ant. Some days have passed since my last entry. Good news. At sea, happy news. My sea chest containing oilskin wrapped sheets of full scalp and my notes was washed ashore along with other wreckage. I will no longer have to borrow the precious... Hold on. Okay, interesting. With oilskin wrapped of foolscap and my notebooks washed ashore amongst other wreckage. I will no longer have to borrow perilous paper of this household for my sketches and notes. This land is a mecca for biologists. How Burton and Livingstone, indeed Darwin himself, would envy the chance to document such a place, even if it meant, as I have just done already, playing nanny to a herd of young hadrosaurs. Will and I continued to study the island's local language, apparently a blend of many, at which he is proving far more rapid a student than I. He spends much of his time with Sylvia, very much taken with the idea of a mere girl who can control such great creatures. He is eager to learn how to do so himself, even assisting Sylvia with her charges. All youngsters who help at the hatchery all of the youngsters who help at the hatchery. Okay. Oh, he's assisting everyone. He accompanies her every afternoon on long walks to the seacoast in the vain hope of finding more wreckage or survivors. He may have missed the companion of young people during our long sojourn at sea. Our kind host have been pecking at me with eager questions about the outside world. I have told them a little about Darwin and Huxley's new theories, and have described to their infinite amusement the recent display of life-size dinosaur models at the Crystal Palace of London. I'm sorry. Oh, they've been... Okay. They seem relatively uninterested in developments like the compound steam engine. My own inquiries are met with remarkable frankness, but I take little cheer in the latest revelation from both Guy Orgio and Alec that no one has ever left this island. As they say, no eggs have rolled out of the nest. In their view, departure is synonymous with disaster, because Dinotopia is surrounded by an impassable coral reef and a system of tides and winds that prevent navigation. I cannot believe there's no way of leaving, and am determined to do so. Moreover, Will and I expect to register our arrival at a place called Waterfall City to supply a list of our skills. This sounds much like a regiment to me, but I shall, for the time, cooperate. However, I must gain command of the language, a matter of several weeks or at least, before planning any further. At the time has come to move on. Giorgio, maybe that's how you pronounce Giorgio, has been watching the road for a vehicle to take us south along the coastal route known as the Mud Nest Trail. Sylvia and Will have borne the prospect of their parting better than I would have expected. Through their whisperings, I wonder if they have been working out plans to see each other again. Barker has replaced coinage as a system of exchange. Giorgio and Alec coping with an injured foot of a hard-working Brachiosaurus. A dog wagon being readied for work. This vehicle, the only transport available for our journey, is certainly no Cinderella coach. The first evidence of civilization, mysterious ruins of a city. Yeah, I'll show you one picture. We've been a day now on the road to Waterfall City, having won the blessing of the entire hatchery, human and dinosaur alike. We depart. Our transport, a dog wagon, is more ill-smelling is a more ill-smelling vehicle than any I've ever encountered in London, New York, or even Philadelphia. We are the only humans aboard, besides the dinosaur in harness. There is a group of small reptilians who ignore us despite Will's obvious interest in them. They are long in conversation in a language that sounds to me much like the squeaking of wheels. But I do hear time and again a word, Poke-Took, which I have understood to be the city of some size and sophistication that lies along our route. Okay, I gotta show you. Copcore carts are kept spotless clean. dang. Okay. On the outskirts of Paddock, we were met by a crew who proceeded to fill our dung wagon with the noxious droppings of the dinosaurs. The material is rich in nitrogen, more resembling burned guano than horse manure. It will be carried to the surrounding farms to enrich the soil. Dinosaurs, remarkably efficient at producing their waste. They do not urinate at all. Their food is mostly completely digested. The men who collect the dung call themselves corpocarts and claim to be of noble lineage, bearing themselves with immense dignity and a kind of slow thoughtfulness akin to those they serve. One fellow took Will and me for carnosaurs of fertilizer. Recommend this exquisite age-ripened product as a Frenchman might speak of Camembert, or Gruyere. I don't know how to pronounce that. Simultaneously, Will and I pleaded urgent business in the nearby city of Paddock, and left as rapidly as politeness allowed. And we got them, they're, picking up the dino droppings here, and then they're showing, I guess in the city, they got like some conveniences with the dino droppings and stuff. It's interesting in this book that dinosaurs, they said that they don't pee, that they just poop, and they poop a lot, and that's interesting. That's very interesting. That's a different take. I wonder if there's any evidence of like dinosaurs not peeing, or I wonder if there's any evidence of dinosaurs having like a... I doubt it, because maybe we have one dinosaur's skin that was like... I went to see it. It was in the Indiana's Kids Museum. If you ever go to the Kids Museum in Indiana, they have Leo, I think his name's Leon or Leonardo. I think he's like some duck-billed dinosaur that was like smushed into the sand whenever he died in this like lake, and like his body like fossilized in the sand, and they have him on display there. And we talked to a couple people that were working in the dinosaur, the paleontologist place, working on like some bones and stuff. We got like my ex was pretty talky, so like the person that she was talking to would like they I don't know, they let us in. They like let us back into where they're working or whatever, and we like got to walk around and check out like real dinosaur, like we like they were like within, I don't know, like with between me and you, this camera, like super close. I could just go up to them and be like, dinosaur bones and stuff. That was a pretty cool experience. That museum is a very cool museum. I highly, highly recommend going to it. I would go back. Absolutely. I would absolutely go back again. They have a long necked dinosaur on its back legs, like going up the building. Yeah. They have Bumblebee. They have, I think, they got Bumblebee on display, like a full blown Bumblebee. I don't know who else they got. They got a bunch of cool stuff there. That place was dope. Alright, let's read the books more. I'm getting back to... Ooh! We got a full... Okay, so... They're going to the city of Potuk. And we got a full page picture-age. This is what the city looks like. It looks pretty freaking dope, in my opinion. I've never watched Dinotopia, the TV show. I've never watched it. And this book is like... It's probably better than the TV show, to be honest. Because the TV show was made in like the early 2000s. Or the mid 2000s. So like CGI wasn't that great. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the picture. Maybe you guys want to look at it again too. That's a super dope picture. Market, Stegosaurus, freaking long necks. It looks like London or something, you know what I mean? All the market activity. Mutaburosaurus with the message writer. Each small Dimorphion can memorize languages, or can memorize messages, and will deliver them to various destinations, somewhat like a cross between a carrier pigeon and a parrot. That's so freaking cool! That's so cool. I want to play a D&D game set in Dinotopia. So, I know you just tuned in, but the map for Dinotopia is literally, it's literally just freaking, it's awesome. It's full of awesome stuff, but it's literally, I mean, if you look at it, what continent does this look like to you? It looks like freaking Antarctica to me. So I'm like, holy crap, this is pretty much Antarctica. They got like so many cool like places in here. So okay, so the hatchery, okay, here's the shipwreck, and there's the hatchery, and there's Potuk. So they shipwrecked here, and the hatchery is right next to it. And I think Potuk is a little bit down the way, right? So they're kind of going, you know, down towards it. They have so many cool places here, though. Like, they got the Crystal Caverns. They have They have Sora, Sauropopulus, the Time Towers, the Red Rapid Canyon, got the Forbidden Mountains, the Backbone Mountains, the Crackshell Point. That's such a good name. Sapphire Bay. Sapphire Bay is such a cool name too. I want to go all these places. The Hadro Swamp. Waterfall City. I want to go to Waterfall City. Temple of the Sky. Sky City. Tree Town. Deep Lake. The Sculpted Cliffs. The Dragonfly Coast. I like this one. This one's one of my favorite. Cape. We're gonna Cape, if you could see it. Cape Turtletail. Cape Turtletail. Don't rip the paper though. Okay. Getting back to the story. Alright, so, they got that cross between a carrier, you want to see him? You want to see what it looks like? The guy, the messenger guy, and the carrier pigeon thing. That's what he looks like. These pictures are the best. This book's freaking dope. How did I not... How have I just now started reading this? Like, how did nobody read this to me whenever I was a kid? Probably because they didn't care that much. They're like, there's other dinosaur things to keep me company, I guess. Alright. Human-powered taxi. We got a human-powered taxi. It looks like, okay. Signs that were written in a strange script. You have traffic guides. A Tago. It looks like a Stegosaurus. I'm not for sure how to pronounce that. The Togianosaurus, the Togianosaurus. I'm gonna go heat up my soup once more. We'll be back. Just give me a second. while we wait, you want to see something cool? It's a Giratina. Bookmark! Sword and Shield. Lost Origin. Oh, they got the werewolf. Looks like a girl version or something, or a new version. Zoroark, Master of Illusion. Freaking awesome. Okay, here we go. Let me get in the picture frame while I read. Sorry. Come on, Blue. Give me some port here. Blue. We spent all day about the streets of the city. Will and I both agape. Side by side, the people and dinosaurs crowd the broad avenues. The city the street markets, the grand open air theaters. I can only compare the spectacle to a Paris in which the doors of the zoological gardens have been thrown open and hippos lounge in the marble fountains of Versailles, while sidewalk stupid biker gangs, stupid motorcycles, they're vroom. Okay, I'm done. I'm done waiting. Freaking stupid people. Stupid motorcycles. Alright. I can only compare the spectacle to a Paris in which the doors of the zoological gardens have been thrown open, and hippos lounge in the marble fountains of Versailles, while sidewalk cafes cater to admirable rhinos. Yet, at its outer fringes, Patuk lacks much of the cosmopolitan flavor. In the gathering darkness, carpenters and wheelwrights, potters, tinsmiths were still at work, accompanied by much banter and laughter. Most of the houses were open to evening air, exhaling breaths of curry and cider. Will and I are debating the possibility of getting some food when a shadow detached itself from a nearby gloom and addressed us in a rusty English. "Shipwrecked you are? Lost? Need a guide?" ? He tugged the brim of his hat over one eye and grinned. "The crab, if I may introduce myself. I'm a new starter here too. Been here 9 years since a dolphin bucked me onto a beach." We told him rather guardedly of a wreck of the Venture. Our reception at the hatchery and of our intended journey to Waterfall City. He listened with a soured grin. "Dinotopia," he said slowly. "You think the name means a utopia of dinosaurs? Wrong. Look it up. It means terrible place. I know. I've seen it. The skinnies are the slaves of the scalies. We're all slaves, hatching their eggs, hauling their dung, or like me, a slag man. No escape. Not today nor tomorrow. You've had your last grow and your last roast mutton, my good friend, my good skinnies." Lee Carib showed us his wagon designed for carrying copper, bronze, and iron ingots. He is bound not for Waterfall City, but for the factory town of Volcanum, which he recommends as a place to live and work without drawing attention. This guy looks skeptical. I don't know about him. I don't know how I feel about his life views either. They're slaves to the scalies? Well, one, the dinosaurs seem to do a lot of the work here. It seems like working in harmony, right? But this guy's like, no, we're slaves for them. I think this guy has a skewed worldview. He lifted the brim of his hat to peer down the now emptied street, then confided his extraordinary plan for escaping Dinotopia. Apparently, it involves creating gunpowder from the dung with, he assumes, my scientific help. It sounds absurd to me, and there's nothing in Mr. Crab's manner that does not put me entirely at ease. But the moment he is but at the moment he is the only person who has echoed my own desire for returning home. Whether or not Dinotopia is a prison, as he claims, we shall see once we get to Volcanum. What? They're changing their routes? Come on. For this guy? This creepy guy, man. Some creepy guy, like, steps out of the shadow and is like, hey, I can help you. And they're like, okay, let's ask his help. Yeah, this creepy guy's like, oh yeah, this place is, we're slaves. I don't like this guy, and I don't like the fact that they're trying to get off the island. I think that they might succeed because of the beginning of the book. The diary is in a library. They found it in a library. Crab required my gold watch in exchange for his service as a guide, because dinosaurs like to take pride in their immense strength. We do not look down on heavy work. A settlement near Volcanum. The cast... Okay, I'm sorry. I'm flipping pages without showing you. There's his car. They're walking with him. They're going to Volcanum. The casting and forging room overlooking the Shatterer Rustodons help with the bellows. Looks like the blacksmith shop with some dinosaurs working with the blacksmiths. Tuck, timber. We got door hinge and knockers made by Tuck. On reaching Volcanum, Crab sets to work to earn some credits. His dome-head companion, Gastrolith, turns one of the large wooden devices that operate the lathe room. It would seem that Crab more often does the bidding of Gastrolith than vice versa. When we first met, the chief craftsman in metals took timbu in the doubtful company of Crab, the master smith fixed me with a gaze like a tiger, but he was impressed when I sketched from memory diagrams of the workings of foundries and mills I observed back home. As we got to know one another, I believe he became convinced of my good intentions. Took is a remarkable man, strong, a very talented artisan with a great personal dignity. He is 4 mothers African, descended from a Yoruba king. Eventually, I asked them about Crab. He was truly a slave. Kept here against his will? ? Not at all. Took was emphatic. No one leaves because no one can. Crab has been trying to for years. He finally gave up on finding the underground passage. Seeing my puzzlement, he went on, there's old maps and old ballads. You'll see 'em in Waterfall City that tell of caverns and tunnels underground. For a long time, Crab tried to find them. He shook his head and smiled. We tried to make him feel needed, but he'll probably never be that home here, or anywhere else either. Man, I like Took. Took's cool. I freaking like this guy. Will and I live in a guest cottage, but take most of our meals with the Timbu family. Their 2 sons are somewhat older than Will. A good influence. With my permission, Took has put Will to work here, learning about machines and tending the needs of the dinosaur-human teams. He is winning respect of all. I wonder, though, how his mother would have regarded this new habitat of bobbing heads and cooing like dinosaurs. Got Took. Got some stuff he's done. Got how the lathe, I think that's how the lathe and stuff's working. I'm not for sure what that is supposed to be picturing of. Maybe they're powering a mill of some sort. Arrival of a Skybanks rider. Skybacks rider. Some days ago, the clouds above Volcanum were piercing by a long, mournful cry. To my amazement, a leathered winged reptile swooped down, carrying a man on its back. As he landed, a babble of greetings announced him to be a Skybacks rider. He dismounted, unloading from his small saddlebag many treasures, maps, blueprints, medicines, and toys, while sharing the latest news from around the island. His mount is called Quadazella skybacks. Quadazella skybacks. Surely the most magnificent flying creature the world has ever seen. None but the rider himself dares to approach it, much less attempt to board it. Will cannot conceal his fascination with flying. He lingers near the roost of the skybacks and has adopted a new greeting, which he learned from the skybacks rider. With a hand extended, he says, "Breathe deep, seek peace." That's awesome. Breathe deep, seek peace. That's a really good way to greet somebody. Breathe deep, seek peace. Talk told us that the saying has its origins with dolphins who long ago learned to survive by carrying deep drafts of air into the darkness of the waters. Dolphins owe their general good nature and playfulness to an almost perfect adaptation to their watery homes, allowing them to flourish despite breathing air. Or Toke says this greeting, or so Toke says. This greeting has found its way into many Dinotopian customs. For instance, the Dinotopian word for marriage or close friend Comspericadet literally means breathing together. Sometimes land creatures hold out a claw or a wing to represent the dolphin's flipper, which has all of the bones of the human hand. Seek peace comes from the dinosaurs, a reference shrouded in the mists of their history. Got a large pterosaur, pterodactyl type of thing. Quadrazillocodius skybacks. Quadrazillocodius skybacks. If I'm saying that right. Breathe deep, seek peace. They got the Cariosaurus, a smaller cousin of the Tyrannosaurus, but not as threatening. the Skyback's rider, just finished his work here, delivering new orders for the factory. When upon mounting his saddle, he turned to us with a simple remark that took us quite by surprise. Will and Arthur Dennison, they are waiting to welcome you at Waterfall City, at which the Skyback spread its leathery wings and took to the clouds. Does the whole island know of our arrival? It's disturbing, yet, on a second thought, castaways are surely rare enough to create news of the first order. Meanwhile, Will has declared his determination to become a Skyback's rider. I don't blame him. This thing looks freaking epic. I'd ride one. And also, what? Hold on. He's weirded out that they already know about his arrival on the island. Except he's been hanging out with people for like weeks now. Like maybe months. And he's like, oh, how would they already know about me? What? This is an island, guy. Everyone knows everything. Especially if you're at part of the island working, doing something, you know what I mean? Like, you're at the hatchery for, I don't know how long. For a while. Tuck makings jewelry for a stegosaurus. Jewelry? I don't know about... That doesn't look like jewelry. That looks like, I don't know. Looks like metal plating. They're putting metal plating over the plates on its back. A dolphinback, like yourself, learning to fly, said Took to Will. Newcomers are not expected to achieve such control of wild animals, but Took has much confidence in the boy and has laid before him the course for becoming a pilot. Because he's a dolphinback, he must first go to Water City to learn writing, history, and ethnics, then go to Tree Town, a summer camp where young people and dinosaurs practice living in accord, and finally to a canyon in the east where pilots win the trust of their reptilian partners. I expressed to Took my doubts about Will's maturity. Took eyed me and remarked, "Arthur, your son is reaching out for responsibility. You must learn to let him learn." He is right. I'm too anxious. Took has been a tower of strength to my son, who has responded with a new sense of purpose. Meanwhile, my own thoughts of the eventual return home have turned to the old maps Took mentioned. Going to Waterfall City might provide me with an opportunity to find out more about them. Why is this guy obsessed with going home? I don't get it. I don't get whenever people are in a strange land, they're like, I gotta get out. I gotta get out. I gotta get out. I can't stay here. For whatever reason. Like, no matter how welcoming these people have been to him the whole time, he's like, I gotta go. I can't. I can't miss the other humans, all the normal human stuff. Like, he's on an island with dinosaurs and he's concerned about going home? This makes no sense. Longing for the home that you used to know? Sure, that might be cool in certain situations, but like maybe where you are now is a terrible place. Then that would give you a reason to long to go home, right? But this guy's just like, this place is great. All these dinosaurs, all these people, everyone's nice. And then he's like, I gotta go home now. He keeps saying, I gotta go home, I gotta go home, I gotta go home. Like, you don't got nothing at home. You don't got no people waiting on him. Like, his family is his son because right before they left, like, his wife passed away. They took this journey on a boat to keep his son's mind off of his mom passing away. And then, like, this boat adventure turned into Dinotopia. He has nothing there. Why does he want to go back so freaking badly? It makes no sense to me. I agreed with Took's suggestion that we have a guide for our journey, but I was not prepared to see the parrot hog again. Took pointed out that the creature is a female. To be precise, her name is Binks, one of the species of Protoceratops and multileginus. An ambassador and translator, one of the few dinosaurs who can speak human languages. She remembered me and said, "Breathe deep, seek peace, Arthur Dennison. No rocks, I hope." Dang, man. Dang. Oh, boy. Evidently, she has a sense of humor. I see no difference between male and female. We got Took. He's doing the metal. That looks like metal stuff. That does not look like jewelry. It just looks like straight metal. This is Binks. The pink one. Binks and Will are fast friends. The capacity for gentle affection among these creatures is astonishing. I now understand Binks' exaggerated reaction to the minor injury I inflicted, unassuming as she is to any deliberate attack. She still sports a bandage utterly useless, but I believe she is quite proud of it. Oh my god. Oh man. This dude threw a rock at me and I survived. I have to bear the scars for the rest of my life. It's a pretty big rock, to be honest. I really like the drawings in this book. The drawings are really good. Sorry, I'm trying to push you up. There we go. Alright, here we go. The following day we started out, descending the volcano on its eastern flank, while before us the great valley of Palongo River reached out to a limitless horizon. The clear air and amber sunshine, Will's eager interest in all things, and my private hopes of discovering a means of escape enabled us to bear the difficulties of the road, which was frequently crossed by streams or scarred by deep wheel ruts. Had our legs been 10 feet long, as some of the giants, Binks described, the fallen logs and muddy meres would have offered no obstacle. Nevertheless, we kept steadily on, Binks commenting and explaining as we went. I learned of other things that she can understand 17 minor languages, including Etruscan, Tieti, and Hyposilo-Dominant and Mimic with absolute precision. The bubbling of Slar Spring and many other sounds in nature. After several hours, she announced, "Shortcut! This leads us away from the road at a point where it veered to the south." She might as well have said wet feet, for the route we now followed drew to the east of a vast, shallow swamp. She directed us to a thicket of totara reeds, nipped off a quantity with her beak, and showed us how to bind them into a serviceable boat, much like those used by the fishermen of Lake Chad. Old Dinotopian design, she said. We got them and the vast view. Our boat brought us to a settlement of crested hadrosaurs and their human assistants, where we spent a few days drying out in the smoky attics of their houses. Interesting. Each of the hadrosaurs was equipped with its own distinctive resonating chamber, which is used to hoot at others of its own kind, even if those kinfolk were miles away, through fog and force. After a deafening concert of raspy honking and a hollow log was drummed to order silence. All assembled, craned their necks, and stared into vacancy, listening for the answering foghorn. The humans then took their turn with matching instruments and costumes. Those people waiting to perform shut their eyes and puffed out their cheeks like frogs who have swallowed fat flies. Such serious pomp and bombast I had not seen since a visit to the United States Senate. Interesting. You got what looks like in the swamp there. Then they got their instruments. Hylasiosaurus, Polacanus, Pilophosaur. I don't know how to pronounce that last one. Well, I don't know how to pronounce that second one either. I'm just guessing. And I'm guessing on the first one too. Alright. We shoved off early the next morning. The music of the hadrosaur eventually gave way to the distant, deep, steady vibration of a great waterfall. Among the banks of the stream, armored dinosaurs wobbled into the sunny places, giving the appearance as they stood by side of a gently heaving cobblestone street. At intervals, a head would bob up to watch us, then a mouth would bark out a warning which Beaks almost often translated as black rocks, white water. Now the rapidly moving current indeed gathered even more force as we swept around the last bend. We had a single glimpse of the city before the boat overturned in the shallows. Climbing up the rocks and grasping for air, we beheld Waterfall City for the first time. Oh, I can see it. I guess you can see it after you go over the waterfall, eh? Wow, beautiful. From our high perch, we gazed down on the foaming waters, wondering how we might take a crossing. All at once, several objects, which at first I took to be skybaxes, appeared above the city. They approached, and to my utter amazement, I saw they were flying vessels with sail-like wings. Coasting through the air without flapping and steering directly for a flat tabletop rock not far below us. At the very moment they settled down to the earth. The captain of the largest craft unstrapped himself, secured the wings of the buffeting drafts of air, and approached us, introducing himself as a wing ambassador. He invited us on board. Interesting. Will scrambled to place his enthusiastically, followed by Binks. But I took some time seeking first to convince myself that the silk and bamboo structure was sound and that our weight would not overload the vessel. Then, filled with apprehension, I boarded, trusting my life to the skill of the captain, who dashed over the boisterous falls with an alacrity born of necessity. Our flight gave us a clear vista of the city and its great dome, on which I was able to observe, despite the circumstances, a vast map of continents. But the map makers are slowly confused, the land masses being all linked together in a jumble. We soon skittered to a stop in a lofty open square. Will Halloween in a shameless display of high spirits, while I, dismounted with as much dignity as my soggy condition allowed. A colorful crowd led us away through the whirling vapors. Seldom, I assure, have strangers been given such a welcome. So heartily were the greetings that I had little time to notice the magnificence of all about us. Presently, we were standing in a long marble corridor with a registry before us, which was in fact a long stroll. We saw names from many other nations and epithets, some in unfamiliar scripts. That atmosphere of warm enthusiasm overcame all my doubts. I wrote Arthur Denison, Professor of Sciences, and son William, August 6, 1863. We dressed in soft yellow robes while our other clothes were put to dry, and pressed into a banquet hall festooned with laurel growens and many small birds flirting about among the company of merry makers. I am quite content to leave the provisions of the trail behind me for a time. We are to stay in a hostelry maintained by the city for its many visitors. Inside the thickness of the stone walls mutes the thunder of water. but is always a steadily background drone to remind one of the sublime glory of the city's setting. Will and I spent several days carefree wandering, but eventually Binks suggested we might begin our formal studies. She said she had made an appointment for me with a distinguished Trachosaurus? Trachosaurus named Milik, the timekeeper for all of Dinotopia. Milik would be willing to instruct me about time. I met him in his museum of clocks and sundials, which I studied with great interest. He showed me his most beloved treasures, including the newest acquisition obtained from a Skybax writer, a gold watch engraved with the initials AD, cleaned in perfect condition. The watch was, of course, my own. The very one I used to pay Crab Lee for our trip to Volcanum. As to how the Skybax writer obtained it, I could only guess. No matter. Malik began a kind chatter with Binks translating. You of the West, Malik said, think of time as moving in a straight line from past to present to future. Your Eastern brothers regard time as a circle, returning endlessly in a cycle of decay and rebirth. Both ideas have a dimension of truth. If you were to combine geometrically the movement of the circle with the movement of the line, what would you have? He snapped his mouth shut and peered at me with an uncanny resemblance to my old schoolmaster. The spiral? But history repeats itself. Precisely, he said. Apparently with some satisfaction. Won't you come with me to have a look at our helicoid gychronograph? And okay. So we got them walking down the hall. And we got some stuff there. Sorry. We passed through another door and entered a chamber inside the spherical dome. A creaking wooden device, powered by water, turned the giant stone pillar, and as it revolved, a mechanism climbed up the spiraling ledge, reading with its sensitive fingers a series of notches and carvings. At intervals, colored flags would rise, whistles would sound, or pebbles would drop down on brass bells. "What hour is it?" I asked, reaching instinctively for my pocket watch. Lily took a step back. "Time is for Kentrosaurus to hatch. Time to plant the milk. Time for the magnolia buds to open. Professor Dennison, I'm afraid you persist in thinking of time as numbers. You think of meaningless units of time. Weeks, hours, minutes. Based on what? Movement of faraway planets? Of what use is that? Why not pay attention to the precise 30-year life cycle of the bamboo gedra tree, or the exactly repeated metotic cycle of paramecium? The whole earth is a heartbeat." He paused, swung his tail from side to side, and squinted at some things, and squinted. Some things happen too slow for you to notice. If you sit still, you can hear the grinding down of mountains, the stretching upwards of trees, the pushing towards the continents, and indeed the wearing away of this very waterfall. Surely not. Yes, indeed. Every 100 years or so, we must divert the Palongia River and rebuild the cliff beneath the city. Malik reached his clawed hand for a small silver box. And handed it to me. "You will soon become a Dinotopian, and then you will measure your life in a different way. This will be useful." I hinged open the lid and saw a pocket version of the Great Spiral Clock. Wow. Got the spiral clock right here. Looks freaking dope. Then you have like a little version of that over there. Then down below, it looks like you have some. They haven't even talked about these yet, but looks like some crystals that send signals throughout the city. A common street game in Waterfall City. A four-sided top is marked put, take all, or nothing. Contestants take turn adding or subtracting colored stones. That's interesting. So it's kind of like a betting game, I guess? Dragon horns can be heard above the roar of the falls. Apprentices begin at an early age. Nalab. They have a freaking dinosaur footprint alphabet? That's epic. A scroll reading machine for dinosaurs? That's dope. Dinosaurs are sentient here, it looks like. Like, super pretty smart, I guess. I'm already at page 70 something. And what's the last page? $159. I might be able to do this in like one sitting if I really wanted to, right? Oh my lord! Alright. I could probably read the rest of this. I read a few pages ahead, but probably shouldn't have, but like I want to live in Dinotopia! We're gonna turn this into a two-parter, I think. Let's see what time it is, right? Actually, I think I can keep going. It's not that late. I think I can keep going. I think I got some more in me, maybe. Binks then showed us to the library. a curious gentleman, called himself Nalab, greeted us at the door. His eyes twinkled. "Learning to read? Question mark, he asked. "We use scrolls instead of books. Dinosaurs don't like to fumble with turning pages." A growl tore the air, and a Deinonychus craned its head to peer up at us. I've seen Deinonychuses at they got the Chicago Field Museum, which has a pretty extensive dinosaur exhibit there, and they have Deinonychuses there, and Deinonychuses are really what velociraptors are based off of. Whenever the movie Jurassic Park came out, velociraptors weren't there. There wasn't a lot known about velociraptors, and the guy, Michael Crichton, the dude that made the movie or made the book or whatever. At the time of writing it, there was not a lot about velociraptors, so there was a lot of assumptions about velociraptors being a lot like Deinonychuses. And Deinonychuses are bigger than velociraptors. They get up to around 5, maybe 4 foot, 5 foot tall. And they do hunt in packs. And they are a lot like the velociraptor. Well, I want to say they're pretty similar. But then they found out about the Utah raptor. And the Utah raptor kind of changed the game for, the velociraptor, because then the Utah raptor is basically a raptor that's could be up to 15 feet tall if it got up, really got up there, you know what I mean? So it could get up pretty big and 10, 15 feet tall, and so the velociraptors in Jurassic Park are 6 foot tall, and they probably should be shorter than that, at least only 5 foot, or maybe less than that, but they wanted to make them look, way more scary or whatever. I get it. I'm sorry. Random dinosaur rattling off about. Our host smiled. "This is Init, our chief librarian," he said. "Perhaps he will show you his scroll-reading machine." Another growl, and the machine rattled to life as Init strained at the treadmill. Gears pulled the paper down past the viewing area into a reel in its base. Dinosaurs do their best thinking when they're on their feet moving, Nalab said. "It comes from their ancestry. The early Dinotopian dinosaurs left footprint messages on stream banks, directions, warnings, poems, even jokes and riddles. If you were a young dinosaur," Nalab went on, twitching your eyebrow upward at will, "you'd learn to write in a sandbox. But instead, we'll get you started with a quill of Ostradonatoris ori." After his very active experiences at Volcanium in the hatchery, Will disliked the idea of being shut in with musty scrolls, but, as he said to me privately, I can stand any amount of studying as long as it will get me into a skyback saddle eventually. I like Will. I really like Will. They got their dinosaur alphabet. They got the machine. They got the guy. Will started learning the Dinotopian alphabet, helped by Binks. The lab escorted me on a tour of the library. From the outside, the building towers over the entire city. Inside, the quarters and the reading rooms are equipped with honeycomb shelves for scrolls. In each room there is a fireplace. Dermitted mildew? Nalab grumbled. A constant battle to keep the scrolls dry. A waterfall is a nasty place for a library. He set to poking at logs while I scanned the shelves with eager eyes, forgetting what I'd come here to find. By comparison to the vast storehouse of ideas, the Library of Alexandria would have seemed a puny collection cataloging only a few short millennia of human wisdom. Dinosaurs have mused, argued, dreamed, and reasoned for 10 million years, watching all things from their calm, wrinkled eyes. I managed to translate a few of the titles. Song of the Sea Turtles, How to Make Gold, Paleozoic Poems, Lessons from the Bee Dance, The Care and the Teaching of Human Perceptual Motion Mechanics. The Care and Teachings of Humans, Perceptual Motion Mechanics, a compendium of helpful fungi, masterpieces of termite engineering. Actually, most Dinotopian writing is not even copied onto the scrolls. The hazy ideas and gossip, the dull anecdotes and bad jokes are written out in a sandbox where they can be easily erased. They're fine dancers with clear footprints. So they do a dance whenever they talk, I guess. It'd be interesting to see if someone could understand them from what dance they're doing, you know what I mean? Got Will doing his readings and teachings in the sandbox here. I did not rip this page. How is this page ripped? I should fix that. Alright. This is the good stuff right here. This is what I read. At Nalab's suggestion, I climbed the pyramid that loomed above the northwest corner of the waterfall city. Enshrined at the top was a tablet that translated as follows: Code of Dinotopia. Survival of all or none. One raindrop raises the sea. Weapons are enemies even to their owners. Give more, take less. Others first, self last. Observe, listen, and learn. Do one thing at a time. Sing every day. Exercise imagination. Eat to live. Don't live to eat. Don't remaining text is missing. I heard a chuckle behind me as I finished sketching. It was Nalab. You're probably wondering about the last line, he said. The stone was broken when we discovered it, so we can only guess. I believe that the last interjection applies to only humans. Don't pee in the bath. Nalab is a mine of information on matters of Dinotopian. Even felt free to ask him about his age. He cocked an eyebrow at me. Well now, he said, how old do you think I am? I guessed, cautiously. Early 70s? He chuckled with a high glee. Shy about 50 years. 120? I gasped. Actually 127. We are all very long-lived on Dinotopia, at least by your standards. Come from that herb we eat. He waved a vague hand. I'm incredulous of course, but I did not hurt the good man's feelings by saying so. Okay, I'm sorry. I always almost forget to show you guys the pages after I read them. Every day after the main meal, Nalab and I meet to explore a new corner of the city. We have wandered past canals and fountains, monuments and schools, gardens and observatories, kiosks and theaters, all woven into a watery labyrinth of stone that would shame even Venice. Hold on. I need to change sides, or else this isn't gonna end well for me if I keep sitting in weird angles. I can't imagine, I said after one afternoon, after a long silence, how it could be possible for such a small island to support enough artists and stonecutters to build all these wonders. And I can't imagine how all these different people and dinosaurs possibly get along without quarreling. Oh, it's possible, Nalab said, sucking thoughtfully on a mango. But only if you do imagine it. February 8th, 1864. If he's dating these, but they don't go by our standard of time, how did he find out how to tell what time it was in his region? Will and I have dropped anchor here in Water City. We've been here 6 months now, and we've discovered new things every day. Perhaps we are enchanted by the mist, or we are beguiled by the siren song of the intellectual life. The lab tells me that I will be expected to teach courses in outer world sciences and developments. Between studies and teachings, I doubt there will be much time for my notebook. March 17th, 1865. A year and a half in Dinotopia's center of living, I've become something of a favorite at the library and spent much time correcting and updating reports of previous shipwrecked sailors about the outer world. The engineers study my diagrams with thoughtful respect, but they rarely carry my designs into action. The sewing machine, however, was met with enthusiasm. Was met with enthusiastic acclaim. A window to the dolphin caverns below the Aqua Stadium. Both Will and I have spent much time swimming, our chief form of physical recreation. April 14th, 1865. I have at last found a set of mildewed charts and old ballads mentioned by Tooke. They are so primitive as to be useless. Indeed, Nalab says they are the basis of religious myths of heavenly underwater sacred to dinosaurs. The heavenly underworld, their basis of religious myths of a heavenly underworld sacred to the dinosaurs. A curiosity rather than a practicality, still a puzzle I would like to have solved, even though I have lost any desire to leave Dinotopia. It looks like they have waterway canals used by all, including the small children riding on the dolphins. Whenever I grow weary of reading scrolls or exploring the vaulted passageways below the city, mounted the high places in the western sector, and sit beneath the lion statues where two long-toothed ancient beasts carved from red granite crouch amid the thunder and mist. Binks told me the legend that one time the falling water had no voice and was silent as the clouds. But then the lions first arrived in Dinotopia. They were kept for a time on the bare rock that later became Waterfall City. Their roaring awoke the waters and provoked an eternal answering call. Could there still be such lions alive on Dinotopia? Sometimes people hear talk of Forbidden Mountains, a colder region where a great variety of prehistoric mammals is said to thrive. Binks clarified, meat-eaters, yes, but not lions in the lowlands. Tyrannosaurus rex, Then we set out across Rainy Basin. Or when we set out to cross Rainy Basin, we will have to particularly be particularly careful. And now the time has come. The thought of danger has preoccupied the lively family of the Gornothuramidid scribes, with whom we have been living since moving from the holstery. We have been currying about making scrolls and inks in heavy woven cases and filling any cork base baskets with numerous quantities of strong smelling soaked eel and shark meat. I have absolutely no taste for either. They are preparing for their annual journey north to the Habitat Conference near Treetown. Will's studies are complete, and he and I are to accompany them. The route leads through the heart of danger, but may be the only opportunity this year for us to make the trip to Treetown. He can hardly contain his excitement, though I shall be sorry to leave Waterfall City and all the good friends we've made here. The armor is so cool. Interesting. We're on 83, but so I think it's like what, 159, I think. Yeah, 159. So we're halfway now. I think that's a good stopping point, right? Halfway through the book. And then tomorrow we can fully get through the book, I think. let's let's see what time it is. I think it's like around 1. Okay, it's not that late still. It's only 12:30. I think I'm gonna stop. I think I'm gonna stop now. So, I guess we can just a little chit chat here for a bit, because why not? So, I'm just there. The Dinotopia is just so good. There's a lot of imagination going on in it. The pictures. I had this one dinosaur book whenever I was a kid. I don't know where I got it. It was like at a book convention or something, and it had the best pictures of dinosaurs in it that I've ever seen. And I don't know what I did with that book. I don't know where that book went. I think my grandpa bought it for me. It was like an encyclopedia type book. And it just had the best, like, Dinotopia quality drawings on it. I don't know what else to chat about. I've been thinking about money stuff and trying to figure out how I could pay stuff. Okay, dokie. I think I'm gonna get off here. Try to go to sleep. Alright. Until next time, y'all.